Creve Coeur School District 76 School Board regular education meeting call to order.
Giddens,
Here.
Cagle,
Here.
Catherine Reagan,
Here.
Val Reagan,
Here.
Tyler,
Here.
Griner, Bailey.
Let's stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Since the secretary's not here, I make a motion to have Savannah Tyler be the secretary. Second. Is that correct, Randy?
Yeah.
Giddens,
Aye.
Cagle,
Aye.
Catherine Reagan,
Aye.
Val Reagan,
Aye.
Tyler.
Aye. Okay, first agenda item, we have a presentation of health insurance renewal. Would someone like to make the motion?
Make the motion to approve the billing and collection agreement by and among United Healthcare Services Incorporated with Unland Companies.
Second. Okay, can we hear the presentation, please?
Good evening, all.
Aye.
I'm Bill Schock. I'm with the Unland Companies, and I wanted to pass out a little bit of information. I think in your board packet, you have a spreadsheet. I'm just going to put it in here till we run out.
Bill, thanks for coming. I really appreciate you being here.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Spreadsheet looks like this.
Yes. Is that the correct one?
That is the correct one. We're here to talk a little bit about your United Healthcare renewal. What we've done on the spreadsheet side is to lay out where you were prior to United Healthcare, which is the far left-hand column, where you are currently with United Healthcare until November the 1st, their proposed renewal, and then some alternatives to that renewal. We started walking through this a little bit with everybody. It's a pretty significant renewal increase. We have looked at the data that they presented in regard to why it was that high, and we're working with them at the current time to try to mitigate that increase. The other thing that we've done, I laid out on this piece of paper here, is we've approached other markets to get preliminary numbers and have laid out what the process might be to get those to the firm. Okay? And so I didn't put any of that on the spreadsheet because frankly it's numbers that probably are not achievable. So we would need to collect underwriting information. And so we approached the three major competitive markets in this area. You're already with United Healthcare. And so Blue Cross and Blue Shield, Health Alliance, and the Aetna, all would be within a range that we think if we captured additional underwriting information would be competitive. Your renewal date's November 1st, 2017. The requested increase from United Healthcare is in excess of 40% if we make no plan design changes, and work through that process and work through with the insurance committee. So what we're doing here, you know, obviously being a positive person, I said these are mitigation opportunities, not challenges, so, but they are indeed a challenge, is review the current census to make sure that we're dealing with an accurate current census, and we are requesting that United Healthcare do the same when we review. Perhaps a large claimant is left, perhaps we've lost health conditions, perhaps our demographic has changed from when they captured underwriting information about 3 years prior to this, 3 months prior to this. So We can examine the alternative plan designs and go through to make final recommendations. We're going to request alternate proposals, which we've already received prior to the underwriting process. I wanted to give you an idea of what that underwriting process is. Blue Cross and Blue Shields does what they call GRX underwriting, which is similar to what we did a little bit with United Healthcare last time, but they'll take Social Security numbers, go to a national prescription database, pull that down. It is less complicated than filling all the health and medical questions out on an application, and a little bit cleaner process. We do have that information in the system. Shelley's done a good job of keeping it up to date with new hires and those people that are no longer here, so we can really approach that probably a little more efficiently than having to go back to the population request underwritings. Health Alliance and the Aetna both require medical applications similar to what we did last. We'd really like to get this done here over the course of the next couple of weeks, so we're prepared for an October 15th communication of where we can be, or your first board meeting in October to make a recommendation for renewal. Okay? And so that's where we are in the process. I can spend a little time on a spreadsheet if you would like. I think that may be a little premature, but I kind of wanted to let the board know where we are and what we've done to try to mitigate this unfavorable financial number.
Because the spreadsheet, you think it might change with Blue Cross Health Alliance and that, so
Yeah.
it's not well accurate.
Well,
I mean,
this
exactly
is
the votes.
accurate on everything. This is firm rating according to United Healthcare.
Okay.
Unless we can take a competitive bid back, unless we can change what they think the underwriting profile is, which is part of, we want to update the census, we want to go through the accurate information on who is on the plan currently. Shelley has that. And then sometimes when you have a competitive bid, it makes a little difference to the current carrier, especially if you can go through those things. So, just didn't want to come and plunk a renewal on your desk and go, hey, what do you think of this? Because I
So-
think I know what you think of it.
So for the same plan that we are on now is the one right next to ours, which
Correct,
is this one,
yes.
right?
Yeah, that's a side-by-side comparison.
Okay. And then the one that is the cheapest then is the one that's alternative 5, number 5?
Uh-huh, the least expensive, probably, there's nothing cheap. on
They
that
hide
shit.
that.
Right, but I mean, okay, so what is the,
But they have a high individual out of pocket.
right, so that's
Family.
what the bad news is, I guess, about that
Yeah.
particular one?
The one that we discussed the most in our conversation, going back and forth with Shelley and the two people from the committee, was alternate 4, which is probably kind of one of those points where there's a lot of similarity. There is a little bit greater out-of-pocket cost,
Okay.
but they're all ACA compliant models, the Affordable Care Act compliant models. So looking at that as an alternative could be, failing, getting a better offer from a different carrier, because everybody on there really has reasonable networks in this area. United Healthcare at this point in time is probably the most broad network. Blue Cross is right behind them.
Can you
So-
explain that flex free to me? What is that?
The Flex Free is a plan design that, under your current system, you have office visit copays for all your visits,
Right.
okay? The Flex Free allows you 3 primary care visits without a copayment annually, and 2 specialist cares annually without a copayment.
Okay.
Given that is, for the greatest majority of folks, where they really
What they-
engage the health plan and engage their benefits, that's nice. It also has, on those, it's 100% lab coverage too, and if there are any labs drawn or called for at the doctor's office. So for 80 to 85% of your employee base and your dependents, that's probably where they're going to be. So it really kind of takes that out-of-pocket piece, sting out a little bit.
Okay.
Obviously, if there's any in or outpatient significant services, you're probably gonna get to your out-of-pocket anyway. But it does take those for the majority of the folks and put them in
The
that
healthy
situation. Yeah, the
individuals.
yeah, healthy or moderately healthy, because if most of the care providing acute care, I mean, excluding acute care, are gonna be in your prescription cards and your office visits, or outpatient treatments. And so those are the important parts for the majority of the folks. There are those catastrophic claims that you're gonna get to anyway, there's nothing you can do to mitigate those. They're just gonna happen from time to time.
And the pharmacy, this really hasn't changed.
The pharmacy benefit is identical.
Right.
And when we do enrollment meetings or benefit communication meetings, those are usually the keys that we pick up on. Those are the things where people are most engaged because that's the way they use the plan. Those little shorthand initials in there, PCPs, primary care physician, specialist, and the UC is urgent care. You know, we just want to throw you with our little acronyms.
Yeah, that's fine. So then the most we would pay per family then would be the 12,000 on the alternate 4.
Correct.
Okay. And alternate 1 is 20.
Yeah, so it's 5. I mean, 5 is 28, which is like, ow. That's a lot out of pocket.
We are aware that if we go back out to the population, your insured population, and ask for applications, that's always a little bit of contention. There's a little bit of frustration there about completing those things. We do have all the apps from last time, so we can supply those and say, just update off of these to avoid some of the frustration, because the frustration comes from, oh my God, what's my kid's social security number? When's the last time I went to see the doc? What scripts am I taking? And typically, you know, things really don't change that much over time.
Right.
Well, I'm going from, this is Health Alliance, this is Health.
This is United Healthcare is where you currently are.
Right.
And there would be network differences in all of those, so those are small bits, but sometimes frustrating if you've established with a primary care physician or, you know, that's a real one of those trust relationships. You trust in your doc and you feel good about it and you have a relationship established. Not that it would be terribly disruptive because Health Alliance has all our local providers, just like United Healthcare does, so they're in the same boat. Blue Cross is Blue Cross.
And the in-network for all of them, I mean, the highest for number 4 is like 7,700.
Yeah.
So, and you said how United Healthcare has a big network.
Yeah.
So it's pretty rough to go out of network
Your in-network utilization is about 95%.
in this area, yeah.
It's really hard. Some people might go out for a dermatologist or something that's really elective, or a plastic surgeon, if you will, if that's necessary. But we don't see a lot of out-of-network utilization in any plan. With Blue Cross, Methodist Hospital is not in Blue Cross, nor is Pekin Hospital. And that network has been, well, excuse me, it is in Pekin Hospital is in Blue Cross. And Methodist Hospital has what they call a matching program, so that if somebody goes for in or outpatient treatment there, they're going to waive the balance bill that they may have. So effectively, all the markets that you're looking at here, would be limited disruption in the network.
And we're not making a decision on this tonight anyways.
No,
How do
this
you
is
think we
more
were?
informational.
I thought that's what I was gonna ask too. I know we have this motion to accept it.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just presenting it.
Right.
Requested increase, that's 40 plus. What's that, is that?
That's about what to go from plan to plan, they want about 40% increase in the premium costs
If you
from
see
their current.
This one, this is what we're currently at, 782. They want to go up to 1135.
But you are preparing with these other three companies, sending paperwork in to,
Mhm.
okay. So
We're working on it,
at our meeting in October, is when we make this decision, we'll be looking at all the,
yeah. And we can provide updates of progress as we go along, because I'm sure you get board communications along the way. The most important thing is to have you aware. I mean, our situation is not to bring in and throw something on the table and say, here, like it or lump it, here, let's go on. We're working for a lot of people here and a lot of cohesiveness. So we took some steps last year to build some trust, and I think we kind of got there. And so we just want to continue on and do the best we can for the administration and for the employees.
okay.
And I know it's went up because we've had a lot of claims. So if it would, the claims would go down, do you foresee it going down? This is just a one-year plan, correct?
It's correct. Yeah, the going down part is, we have seen some reductions. And most of the stuff that we're getting to early, I mean, you're a November renewal, so you're a little earlier than most. And so you're over 50 as well, which means that you are more impacted by your experience than the community experience. So we are seeing in the community, however, we are seeing some reductions in rate.
Okay.
And so I don't know that we're gonna get there this year on a reduction side.
Right.
If half of what they tell us is true, then we're not gonna get there. But we should be able to stay closer to that number that we established. The good news is you went into a fixed cost program that saved you some risk and probably some dollars initially from the self-funded program. And we'd like to move forward with a better deal for you here. We're gonna try.
All right.
Okay? So, we hope that by the next time you meet in October, which I assume is early October, right?
We're gonna meet September 26th, and then we meet October, I think, 13th, isn't it?
Yeah, September 26th will be a little
No,
early.
it's not October 13th. It's probably October 8th, 10th.
Day after
Very good.
Wednesday.
Okay. And so, we should have something for you on the 26th on just what kind of progress we're making. We'll work with Tony and Shelley to move forward then.
Okay, great.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thanks for coming.
Audience, any questions for Bill?
Okay? You gonna save them for
Thank you.
later?
Yeah.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, so do we want to table the motion to approve this?
You're not approving that, you're approving that contract, collection contract, for them to collect for us. Was my understanding from Shelley.
Oh, yeah, collection.
It does say collection agreement,
Yeah,
okay.
so you're approving the collection agreement, not what.
Oh, I was
insurance-
thinking collection and agreement, sorry. Yes. Should we make,
Yeah.
So the motion was made by Catherine,
Yeah,
seconded by,
yeah.
okay. Giddens,
Aye.
Cagle, Catherine Reagan,
Aye.
Val Reagan,
aye.
Tyler.
Aye. Okay, is there any audience members that would like to comment regarding action items on the agenda? Hearing none, okay, let's move on. Okay, I need a motion for F1.
Make the motion to approve the meeting minutes from the regular meeting dated August 22nd, 2017.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Giddens,
Aye.
Cagle, Catherine Reagan, Val Reagan,
Aye.
Tyler.
Aye. I need a motion for F2.
Make the motion to approve the payments list dated September 6th, 2017 and September 7th, 2017.
Second. Any comments regarding the payments list? I see that maps and renewal on it.
Mhm.
No other comments? I guess roll call.
Giddens,
Aye.
Cable,
Aye.
Captain Reagan,
Aye.
Val Reagan,
Aye.
Tyler.
Aye. I need a motion for F3, please.
Make the motion to approve the Parkview School June/July Activity Fund Report.
No, this is.
Oh, sorry.
treasury report.
Treasurer.
Motion to approve the treasurer's report dated July 31st, 2017.
I'll second it.
Any comments?
I just wanted to make a quick comment to point out, because we're going to take a ding during the next audit on this,
Okay.
because in the month of July, under tort, the column under tort,
Mm-hmm.
under column 80, you can see we went negative, and we're not supposed to go negative.
The $3,388.
Yeah, we went $3,388.61 over. So we gotta fix that. I mean, this is at the end of the year. And that's because you seen how much was dispersed that month. So
Okay, so how do we fix it? We have to
it's too
move
late to
funds.
fix, it's too late to fix it. We
We
gotta fix
can't
it.
move funds now.
No, it's too late, because that was the end of the year. So it will show up in the audit report.
Okay.
I just wanted to bring it to your attention, so you're not surprised then. And if you look up, you can see what the expenditures, cash dispersed is what did it.
134,000.
Yeah, the 134. We got a lot of money in, but it didn't cover everything.
Right.
That was just a comment.
Any more discussion? Roll call.
Giddens, Cable,
Aye.
Captain Reagan,
Aye.
Val Reagan,
Aye.
Tyler.
Aye. Okay, motion for F4, student activity fund.
Make the motion to approve the Parkview School June and July Activity Fund Report.
Need a second. Any discussion? No discussion? They have a nice healthy balance. Yeah, they do. Okay, roll call.
Giddens,
Aye.
Cable,
Aye.
Captain Reagan,
Aye.
Val Reagan,
Aye.
Tyler.
Aye. Need a motion for F5.
Make the motion to approve the second reading and adoption of policy 5:30, hiring process and criteria.
I'll second.
Any discussion? It's in here. Any discussion? Roll call?
Giddens,
Aye.
Cable,
Aye.
Captain Reagan,
Aye.
Val Reagan,
Aye.
Tyler.
Aye. Need a motion for F6?
Motion to approve the administrative procedure 1:20-AP checklist for handling intergovernmental agreement requests.
I'll second.
Any discussion? It's a nice checklist.
Is that all we did? Was just add the checklist?
Any discussion, any more discussion? Okay, let's vote.
Giddens,
Aye.
Cable,
Aye.
Captain Reagan,
Aye.
Val Reagan,
Aye.
Tyler.
Aye. This is down further. Pardon? Is it down further? Yeah. Where is it?
Under policies.
Oh, okay, no wonder I was confused. So we're gonna make a motion there. Is this just an FYI? I was wondering what to discuss it, it looks like. Okay, because I wanted to ask some questions too, and I said that'll work. Thanks. Okay, information items. We don't have any written communications. So we'll move on to reminders of upcoming events. Tomorrow, there's a labor management meeting at 3:15 here at the district office, sorry. And there's a tech meeting September 25th, is that correct, Kat?
3:30.
Growing up means scheduling things on your birthday.
Oh, is that what it means? I'm glad you're a grown up. The next board meeting is September 26th. And then also, there's the Central Illinois Valley Division Dinner Meeting, will be held Thursday, 10/26 at Dunlap. Probably you guys all got this in the mail that they're having, so if you guys wanna, go, we need to tell Stephanie, what date we need to tell you by?
As soon as possible.
ASAP? So if you are going to go, look at it and tell Stephanie. Randy's going?
No,
No.
he's not going.
Oh, okay,
No, I looked at the, and I'm like,
okay.
I like to go to those, it's the same night of those parent-teacher conference, 26th and 27th is what I have.
Cause that's, I think that's Wednesday, isn't it, the 26th, or is it Thursday?
It's a Thursday.
You guys are going? Okay. Well, I'll go. Okay, and also, Chicago conference is in, November, it's November 17th through 19th. Put on your calendars, try not to forget. Pretty soon, there should be, like, sending emails on what, some of the topics are.
there's something came in the mail today.
Oh, today? Cool.
Oh, nice.
Good topics?
Yeah. So,
Awesome.
Did we already do like the
I just
hotel
seen the book.
celebration?
Yes, she sent it in, I don't know if we got what her.
Because I remember you sent it in, I just didn't know if we.
Yeah, she sent it in the first day. She had,
Yeah,
poor Stephanie had
because
a
it
night.
crashed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any presentation suggestions by board members? Future, anything? I have one thing. We're just looking at me, of course you do. I was just at Parkview, I went and watched a baseball game, and maybe in the future, could we paint the fence where, I don't know what it's called, the backstop, yes. It's kind of rusted, and it looks like it needs to be painted. So I don't know how we go about that, if we have to contract it out, because it is very tall. No?
That's on our to-do list for next summer.
Okay, great. That's what I was thinking, oh, it does.
We just couldn't get to it this summer. We had a
So
few other
much.
projects going
Right,
next summer.
okay, great. I was just thinking
You
it
know,
would be.
the only thing I thought about was those guys would paint that water tower in March. I'm sure
Yeah, could they just like spray a little
You guys,
paint that way?
Maybe, maybe.
overspray it a little bit.
Yeah, spray the
Maybe.
ground, the dirt, you know, everything. Okay.
I think one thing else about the baseball fence, there's some holes kind of in the back, would probably, not only needs painting, but probably needs a little up work. Definitely the lower part of the fence right there behind the catcher, because the ball has a tendency to go underneath there.
Okay.
And, I don't know, you don't want to put a board there because it bounces back, but something to stop the ball and deaden it a little bit.
Okay, discussion of park scores. We were asked to bring our scores from the previous packet. So,
I didn't know.
okay, that's okay, we'll share. Okay, and I think Randy wanted to discuss this, is that correct?
I thought we were gonna get a presentation from them, because we're missing fourth grade altogether in this.
Right, I think I
And we
thought
don't
last
only get a
time we tried
presentation
it.
from the administrators,
I thought we did.
We did.
I thought,
Yeah, we did.
but we
yeah,
didn't cover, there was no more to add?
I have a little, I can give my administrative report.
Okay,
I think we each have something to give if, maybe within our administrative report.
okay, that's fine, thank
That's all
you.
right.
Yeah.
okay.
We do want to hear what they have to say about the park now, maybe, Randy, if you had some,
No, they're gonna do it in the report. That's what we just done.
okay.
And then we can ask some questions from there. Well, I just important. I have my scores. I kind of crunched some of the data and it's improved. Okay, report from administration. Oh, God, thank
Okay.
God.
I want to add some dates. Walked in the gym today down at Parkview, they had pictures. They were getting pictures. Got some good news from them today that they're going to give give us pictures from last year to put up on the wall. We're a little bit late at getting that, maybe misplaced, but we're gonna get those pictures put up. We even had some 8th graders, I think, Mr. Johnson told me, showed up at the game. Where's the pictures from last year? So we're gonna get that done. We talked about labor management meeting, technology meeting. Next board meeting is 26th. Day after the board meeting, we have the East Peoria Homecoming. I know some of our kids participated in the East Peoria Homecoming Parade on the 27th, Wednesday. No school on Columbus. Illinois Principals Conference, it will be Monday, Tuesday, October 16th and 17th. I think Mr. Johnson and Mr. McCormick will be headed there. Parent-Teacher Conference is October 26th, 27th. Blue and White Night, October 30th. And Halloween Parade, of course, on that Tuesday, October 31st. Out-of-district students, we've had several students move in. A lot of times at the start of the year, when kids register, they might already be placed in these other schools. We just basically, it's not uncommon for us to have students we've never seen before. They come in with an IEP, and they might be at Kiefer School. I know we had one start out, a new one start out at Strom, a new one at Kiefer. We have added one student to Germantown Middle School, so our numbers are up outside of district. And we could have one on the move, but let's go with that.
How does that work with the IEPs? Now, do you have to do an IEP within a year since they are our student?
Yes.
Okay.
And the principals could talk more about that if they want to. I do want to pass these out, so start passing them around so you can follow me. I'm on the second page already. We took water samples. We sent them in on September 1, it was a Friday. PDC Laboratories out of Peoria. Basically what worked out, we had to tell them how many different water sources that we had that were water fountain, that were first grade and below classrooms. If there was a restroom in a first grade or below classroom, we had 3 kindergarten and a Head Start classroom that we tested that water in that sink. We did all water fountains. We did all sinks that were in the kitchens at the 2 buildings. So if we had a water fountain, you had to have 2 samples from that water fountain. The way you tested that was the water fountain or any, same thing with the rooms we tested, same thing with the kitchens. The water had to sit from 8 to 18 hours. So if someone used the water fountain, that's why we did it first thing in the morning. I got Mr. Johnson out of bed one day, 6 o'clock, we got a half hour, had them done, we were organized. The laboratories furnished us with the bottles. So we would go down to like a water fountain. The water hasn't moved in that fountain for about 8 hours, 10 hours. Our first sample was right out, never wasted any water. Put the first water sample in, close it up, let it run for 30 seconds with the second water sample in each place. $20 for the first sample, $20 for the second sample. We had a water fountain, $40. I think it ended up being a little bit under $1,000, somewhere in the $900 range to test our water. We did it right. We did it, we weren't putting any good water. We just used the water that was in the pipes, what we used. We did have, that's why we did it first thing in the morning. One day we did it at LaSalle, one day we did it at Parkview. The next day we sent it off. The guy was very impressed with the numbers we had, how we were organized, and we got that done. Went to a principals meeting the next day, and everybody was hollering about it. Do we have to do it? Do we have to do it? I'm not doing it until they make me do it. I said, guys, we did it. It was painless. Haven't got the results back. If the results come back too high, we have to publish it on our website. We have to tell parents what we're going to do. If they're at a certain level, and it's so many billions per, I don't know what it is, but they will test it. Most likely, if there's lead in the water, we get it out of that first sample, because it would sit there overnight. The pipes, they said in older buildings, you might more likely to have lead than a newer building. It just makes sense. So got that done. We're happy with that. I do want to thank Mr. Johnson, Mr. McCormick. We did invite the water department up at 6 in the morning. They talked about coming, did not show, because we were going to include them in it and taking the samples. Jim Hollenbach will be here tomorrow, he's our architect. He's gonna go over the 10-year life safety. We have some questions on the 10-year life safety report. Simple things like, I know in mixed building, they have gates, I think he talked about that, gates you can stretch across the hallway. If you wanna block off, if you're having a game or something and you want to block the hallway off. We keep them locked. They said we had to keep them unlocked, but we keep them locked. We thought if they're unlocked, you know, people might be pulling them back and forth, just getting in the way, kids' fingers. Also, they want us keeping the stairway down, the outside stairway to the boiler room at LaSalle, they want us keeping that open. Meaning the fence, the gate that lets people go down there. Our thought is, some kid falls down those steps, you know, we might not find them for a while. And those steps are very steep and very, I think that someone could get hurt on those steps. So we're gonna look at them, if he tells, you know, the architect, if we get proof that we need to do that, we'll do it. I know what he's saying, if it's locked during the day and somehow someone's down there and something happens and they try to get out of there, I'm sure.
Is it an emergency exit?
I'm sure it's an emergency exit for down there. There would be two, there's this, you know, of course, there's always an inside and an outside. So we just have some questions, and that's why we're bringing Jim.
So if that has to stay open, can we install a half gate or something with a level latch or something? So the kids can't be falling down the stairs?
Yeah, it's like we have to look at the risks.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we're gonna bring Jim back and have some questions and go with
Because
that.
I thought there was a little door
It's part of our
in the
insurance.
boiler room that goes like outside.
There is,
That's what he's talking about.
but then when you go up those steps, we
Oh,
have a
there's a
fence,
gate,
and there's a gate that
yeah.
we keep locked. I guess it's the gate, if I said door, it's a gate.
No, you did say gate, yeah.
If we just keep a fence in the area, fence it off, it'd be
Yeah.
better to have the gate.
We just need to rig up a gate exit
The gate exit.
only.
So they can still exit out, but they can't go in.
Can't get in.
If a fire department has to go in, I'm sure our fire department has bolt cutters.
Right.
Right. But if you have to exit, you can exit it.
You can exit, because we don't want people going down
Right.
in the middle of the night either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have a guy coming to look at the roof.
We'll get there. Okay, next thing, Jim Hollenbach is coming to he's gonna bring a roofer, not just an outside person. I did tell him we do have there's some leaking that's happening toward the gym walls and the school.
We need to see what we're gonna do.
I did talk to Dave, he's the guy who works on our boiler. Dave says he's gonna, we talked about having an alternative, buying electric heaters, put them in there, not even run the boiler. He and I have talked, and I think I'm gonna agree with Dave. The boiler works, let's run it, let's keep it low. No reason to buy anything that we need extra. So our plan is to keep the degrees at 50 to 55 degrees. The gym will not be heated. Those heaters are separate in there, but we talked about not heating the gym because it's a big open space with no pipes in there that will freeze, that we know of. General state aid payment, really good news. If you look on there, they have sent us 3 payments, 22 payments, each payment. That's what I'm looking for. The payments are 122 payments of 161,000, we get them every 2 weeks. But last year we got 151,000, so it's up 10,000. The only catch with that is, you know, that means we're gonna get, I think, 200 and whatever, I had it figured, up to for $236,051 from last year. Now, our special ed money, they haven't given us, it's zeroed down. There's talk about they're gonna give us special ed money, but they were increasing the general state aid. If we get no special ed money, we're gonna have the same money we had last year, a little more. But if we get the special ed money, that I think we're gonna be better off than that. So I have a sheet here. Actually, actually makes more sense than what I just said there. 161,000, 22 payments this year. If you look at the second page, is what we got
Did you already
last
give
year.
us this?
Oh, no, not this one. This
Oh.
came out if you look at it. The state was, the big question was the state gonna pay us general state aid? Was the state gonna pay us general state aid? Yes, they just, if you look at the top three, they've actually given us, over the last 3 days, we've done pretty well. Okay, I don't think there's dates, but I know they gave us money on Friday, they gave us money on Monday. I don't know if those dates mean that, but that's when we got the money into our account. So 3 payments of $161,000, that was nice. We can pay our bills now. And remember, general state aid is our biggest thing. At the bottom there, it's 3.56. Last year, we received, on the second page, 3.3. So there is an increase. I think I came up with, I said that on that sheet, 236,051. Snow removal bids we'll have at the next meeting. I'm really disappointed with our snow removal bids because I was on the phone, talked to probably 8 to 10 people, companies, said they were excited, gonna come over. One guy said been doing it for 47 years, would love to come give you a bid. Haven't seen any of them. So, I don't know, they're excited. They talked to them on the phone, did leave some messages. I did talk to I probably talked to over half the people. And they said they were coming to give us bids. So we're looking at getting bids. We have one bid right now, same company that did last year. So they were pretty expensive, but at
As I
least
say, I think last year, they were pretty expensive. And we
And
didn't
they
have hardly any
salt-
snow.
they would salt
and it wasn't
They were
even,
salting.
pardon?
They were salting.
When it didn't snow, like when they were
didn't
calling
snow.
for it, they would still come and salt. Right.
so I
That's
just,
what our most complaints are about, the snow, the ice.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, we'd love to look at those.
yeah, if we get any.
I think we will. I think we'll get some. You know, the question we have, I think, in the past, the people haven't done sidewalks. You know, sidewalks are, we do them ourselves.
Right.
I talked about even, there's one really big sidewalk in the south, I think it goes into the main office. I think it's really wide. They could probably, I wouldn't mind throwing that one in there. Parkview has smaller sidewalks.
Well, but it's someone's contract, union, I don't wanna step on a union's toes, cause I think that's in their contract to do.
Do sidewalks.
Yes,
Okay.
so I mean, we would have to talk with them, because they were given their job weighing, I don't want a grievance filed.
Okay. So I'll make a note there.
I think it is.
Yeah, so we can't get another,
Don't want to.
no.
Okay, back to school picnic canceled. Just wanted to mention that. Sixth graders had a nice field trip over to the Riverfront Museum in Peoria. Mr. Johnson and I stepped in, talked to the sixth graders the next morning. They had a little behavior on the bus, so we did talk with them about that. Let them know what our expectations were when we take them outside of the district. I do want to thank some people. I know Brenda Cagle, I want to thank you. She had bought some yellow plastic handles. Kids have been really using the wood playground more because handles go all the way across. There's 6 yellow ones on one side, six aluminum ones on the other side. The plastic ones are a lot lighter. The kids actually like them. They're little triangles. They have worked out well. She bought them, I put them up. They look good. Kids really, I know, I always watch the kids at recess, the little ones are so fun. They go out there and they use everything. I don't care what piece of equipment it is. I always complain about those, you know, the bus and the tractor, not the bus and the fire truck. I don't think, why would anybody want to play on that? Those little kids just love it. Those little kindergartners, there's 6 or 7 on that and they're jumping and they're shaking it back and forth.
So did you get tired, is that why I didn't put that in there?
No, actually, it's left them up there. They 6 of them, or 5 of the 6 up there, and I thought, I'll just make those steel ones and give you back the plastic. So, we have ordered, it'd be interesting for you guys to take a look at that playground. The biggest piece of equipment, a lot of the rubber that covers the steel is wore off. You know, it's kind of a problem. It's rusted. The kids, you know, I think there's a few places, it's pretty flat surfaces, so, you know, it's not like a kid's gonna hit his head on a sharp area, but the fact that, you know, the rubber coating, which is hard rubber, it has worn off in a few places, so, I think there's options you can, you know, I think most cost-effective one is, take the pieces that are missing that, have them resprayed. It won't be as good as brand new, but be better than the metal showing, because you're gonna start having some rust on some of that equipment. Equipment's good, it's probably 20, 25 years old, and it's meant to last, so. I would like to see the parent club kind of get on. That's one thing I think that our kids really use is our playground. They use it during the weekends, and they use it a lot during the day, especially with the good weather we've been having. We've really been blessed with that. Principals, I'll turn it over to you guys.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hello.
Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Whiston, I believe, report on enrollment at Parkview School. We looked at our enrollment at the end of last week, and we were at 258 students. That was last week. Again, that does not count our alternative education placements. Our meal count with the new lunch program for reimbursable breakfast, we're currently, for the week of September 1st through the 8th, we're averaging 103 reimbursable breakfasts, and then for lunch, we're averaging 212. That's where that's at.
212, that's a good number.
212, it's a good number. So we have a lot of students who are eating. And actually, just a really quick story. One particular student who stands out in my mind, last year never ate a lunch in the lunchroom. Never ate, and I asked him, "Hey, you need a lunch, why don't you eat a lunch?" And this year's the first time. And I think maybe it's because it's a free lunch. So that's a good thing, that this student's actually able to eat a lunch. 10-year health, life, safety report. I know that the board, Mr. Whiston has asked Mr. McCormick and I to start working on that report. We do have some estimates that we're looking at, provided those to Mr. Whiston, mainly for some alarm horns. We did complete an easy one, A3 Gym 141. We had some sports equipment to relocate in an entrance area. So we are working on the 10-year report. Briefly, one of the things that Mr. Woods and I have been talking about that's tied to this report, and this is probably not a discussion item, I don't have enough information tonight, but the locker rooms. We've talked about two things with the locker rooms. One is, and it's a question, do we want to meet the standards of the 10-year health, life, safety report? Do we want to honor those standards and stay with that? Or would there be any interest in actually remodeling those locker rooms? Because those are two separate things. So that's something that maybe we'll need to talk about down the road, so to speak.
Right, because I thought we discussed, especially the boys' locker room, it does need to be redone, and we thought about different options, and that CTS or
CTS, I think.
is it CTS came in and they gave even some options in their report about the locker room. I mean, yeah, I think we did too. I think.
So there's already some options.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think when Linda and Pam and them get back, we can look at that CTS report and maybe go on from there, because I know we talked about the boys' locker room especially.
Sure. Okay. Very excited this Friday. Harvey Harrington's making a return trip from Iowa here to Creve Coeur. He'll be speaking to our students at 9 o'clock in the morning, motivational speaker. Very much looking forward to that. It'll be a great morning at Parkview with Harvey Harrington. East Peoria High School homecoming game. Once again, our Warriorettes and cheerleaders, they're planning on walking through the homecoming parade on September 27th, I believe is the day that's scheduled. Looking forward to that. DARE instruction started last Thursday. Weekly instruction is being provided to our 5th grade students. We're excited to get that instruction. Flex scheduling, we've our 5th grade and 6th grade staff, we've met, we have pretty well streamlined our flex offerings for this year, planning on starting those the second 9 weeks. 7th and 8th grade staff, we'll be looking at those end of this week on into next week, but we're trying to streamline the flex periods and focus on some areas that we've talked about with 5th and 6th grade. We've talked about having an advisory period every Monday to where we actually have some student action plans that incorporate our MAP scores, possibly PARCC scores, and develop a student action plan to help the students gain in student achievement, to where the students can periodically review those plans from week to week along with their staff. So we've talked about that. Some other areas, STEM. 5th and 6th grade staff, they're wanting to incorporate STEM instruction at those 2 grade levels. And then we're also talking about adding character education and social skill development as well with the character education. So those are some of the 3 areas that we've talked about at the 5th and 6th grade level with our flex periods for this school year. Have some information on our PARCC scores, and after the tentative schedule, there is some information on PARCC, and some of this information is similar to what we looked at last year. The first page contains the scale scores, and we've listed 5th grade on up through the 8th grade, both subject areas of ELA and math, to where we can compare the 15, 16 with 16 and 17. I think when I look at this information, what I get out of this is that we did not make substantial gains. At the 5th and 6th grade level, we actually dipped in a few areas once we look at the numbers, but when we look at the 7th and 8th grade numbers, when we look at the detailed reports, I think we saw some minimal gains at the 7th and 8th grade level when we look at ELA and math. So we're looking at that, and I view that. Sure, we have some definitive areas to look at to improve upon, but we did see some improvement with fewer staff last year, and so I think we held our own, so to speak, with fewer staff. That second page went back 3 years, 14, 15, 15, 16, 16, 17, and the LA is broken down into the areas of reading and writing. So for 16 and 17, those are the percentages of students who actually met or exceeded. The numerical value in green that's in parentheses, that's the state average. And as I just commented, 5th and 6th grade, we dipped a little bit when we look at those numbers. But when we look at the 7th grade ELA, we did see an increase. 7th grade math, we saw an increase. 8th grade ELA, minimal increase. And then 8th grade math, we saw a minimal increase as well. So this is some more information regarding our student performance. And then the next 2 pages are summative reports. There's a 2016 ELA summative report to where 5, 6, 7, and 8, we simply combined the 5 different areas that show up on the PARCC scores. Did not meet, partially approached, met, and exceeded. Those are combined from last year, and then we can compare that with last spring session, the 2017 ELA summary report, and then we did the same thing for math. We have combined 5 through 8 reports from last year, and then we can compare that with last spring session as well. Now, I have a few comments. I think it's important for us to look at scores, but I think just as important as looking at scores is what are we doing about that? What type of programming are we looking at Parkview School? So attached are some of the building goals that we have for this year that as a staff and administration we've talked about as we've opened the school year, and that's attached to this report as well. Item A is safety. Item B is curriculum to help reinforce writing we have added the writing tray crates to help with writing implementation. That's a new resource. Point D was student support. We've added the DARE program. We're wanting to reinforce student safety with some surveys. We have the Always Bullying Student Survey. We're striving to provide that to our students to get some input. A new item this year that we're bringing back that I don't think that we've done in a few years is with item, the sixth bullet down, our social emotional grouping. We didn't do that last year, and Mrs. Baird, our new counselor, is wanting to bring that back, and we're actually have a goal of bringing that back during flex period. Okay, and what this amounts to is on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, we have a group who meets, and the focus is social and emotional. You know, how the students are doing, how can we help you? That's in a nutshell what that's all about. We talked about the late stay. We are using the late stay as we speak. We've had a few students who've actually attended the late stay already without being placed in the in-school suspension setting. We're trying to reduce numbers of ISS. Developing and enhance community area partnerships. That showed up on the survey as one of the areas. When we look at that, Parkview is a little bit beneath the state average, so we're trying to do a better job of involving families. And one of the ways that we're doing that at Parkview is just simply with field trips. The 6th grade field trip last week, we actually had some parent volunteers. We did that with some of our trips at the end of the year last year, so we're trying to involve our families into our school. Building environment, Mr. Whiston has asked that we try to incorporate a new teacher orientation program. So we have that, it's ready. We'll be rolling that out for our 1st and 2nd year teachers as a way to provide some support. And then over the course of the summer, Mr. McCormick and I and Mr. Whiston, we worked pretty hard on scheduling some professional development. And we looked at motivation, which we started the year off with some motivation. We started the year off with some math. And I think that Mr. Whiston has talked about maybe even bringing that back more for some more PD for this year with math. Classroom management, we have that as a focus area this year. So it takes work to get these areas scheduled, so we try to be strategic in scheduling some professional development this year. Okay, so these are some areas that we're actually looking at Parkview this year. And then last but not least, on the last page, we've actually listed the professional development or staff support opportunities. And I think we've talked about most of these. We're bringing the Envision 2.0 back. They're coming back to do a presentation for our new teachers. We have some new teachers this year who weren't here last year. So Envision 2.0 is going to provide a presentation for our new folks. Co-teaching strategies. We have co-teaching at Parkview. Amber Ely is going to be providing a presentation for those folks who are involved in co-teaching in ELA and math. So that's we're looking at that. We have a relatively high number of students who have IEPs in our school. And with that being said, we've asked Mackenzie Craig to come in from Tazewell Mason as well to do a review. Did a review last year with special education rules and regs. We're going to bring that back again this year. And then we have a classroom management professional development session set up for all of our staff, administration included. But we're also at Parkview, since we have a relative high number of students who have needs, we're also going to hit classroom management from the special ed side as well. And Mackenzie Craig is going to be coming in and provide some pointers, some guidance for us in the area of special ed as well. Data review sessions. We have 2 sessions tentatively scheduled in our in-service activities for this school year, and what we're looking at doing is analyzing our student data, reviewing our student data with our administration, with our staff, to review the data, become aware of it, and to try to build some correlation into those student action plans that we had talked about with our advisory committee. And then student health. We're looking at incorporating student health into school safety this year. We're in the process of we've had the depression and suicide awareness training. Our counselor provided that for us, but we're also looking at the asthma, diabetes, and food allergies as well. And then it's listed last, but probably should be first. School safety should be number 1. We will be doing the ALICE training, and we did. Mr. McCormick and I have the active shooter drill scheduled in December. So that's kind of a really quick picture of some areas that we're looking at to try to help our students and staff and administration of Parkview School.
Any questions? I think this looks good. Okay, so looking at the MAP scores, and, I mean, not the MAP scores,
The park scores?
park scores. And you seem to incorporate, like, you know, development in this and trying to help the student be accountable for their learning. If that doesn't work, I mean, we just are not, seems like we're missing something here.
Well, I think I think there's a lot of things that we have to look at, and, you know, attendance. Okay, we're looking at student attendance this year, and staff as well. And you know, with our student attendance, we have a few students who are late this year. We're the way that this may be the old-fashioned way, but you know, however many minutes you're late, then I think you should make that up after school, studying, learning. So we're trying to do a few things that, you know, maybe we haven't done. We're trying to bring back. But there's a lot of areas here that I think if we can put some focus upon and some effort and show some improvement in a lot of different areas, I think that we're going to see a direct correlation with our scores. But now our math, I will say this from last year, our teachers, speaking of Parkview, our math teachers really like the Envision 2.0 resource. They do. But now what I have heard is that we've had some questions, and what's been troublesome has been the pacing. We've had a little bit of we're learning the program, our teachers are learning how to use the program, and pacing. I don't think that we were able to cover as much material as we wanted to last year, and I think part of that was it's technology based. A lot of stuff.
Well, the teachers are learning it.
Teachers are learning how.
Remember,
Teachers
not
are
all of them were bought into it last year.
right. Teachers
And
are.
Teachers are learning it, and then the kids have to, you can't just start them at 5th grade Envision without going through things
Right.
probably 4th grade in the same way with 6th grade. They had to probably review some stuff from 5th grade
Right.
because it was just started. But
Right.
probably within the next 2 or 3 years,
Right.
everyone will be on pace.
Right. I think over time it's going to require a lot of hard work, and it's going to require a lot of us, everybody in the building, doing a little bit more than what they've been accustomed to doing. And I mean, that's what we have to look at. So, but we have good people. We really
Right.
do. We have a
That
good.
really want to teach.
We have a good staff, and I know that staff are wanting to see improvement as well.
What about the language arts? Did they look into that? I thought we were supposed to get that soon.
We are, Mr. McCormick, we've been talking about that, and we haven't we just started the school year, and the dust is almost settling,
That's fine.
but we will be putting our committees together and
Okay, great.
pre-OA.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Hidden in there, at federal level, you've got that ESSA, and they're looking at all the states. I haven't read where Illinois has been approved yet. I think I sent you a spreadsheet, 2 or 3 pages there. I also read like a week or so later every school district's gonna have to come up with a plan, their own plan, and it has to be approved like a month before you apply for your Title I grant. And if we're not there, I don't know how much money we're gonna lose out on. So we have to, staff, administrators, whoever it is, has to help get that plan together, get it in early and get the thing approved so we don't lose out on Title I.
Right.
And I don't know if next year's the first year it goes into effect. So I'm kind of watching what's going on at the federal, see if they approve our state. And they've already sent back something to the state, but it hasn't been approved last I know. I think I gave you the whole report that I had found online. So,
We had our first administrators meeting at East Peoria, and I came there with my park scores, was ready to talk about park scores, and I said, what are your park scores doing? And they looked at me like I'm mad on the moon. They said, we don't look at park scores, we don't, and East Peoria, junior high, they don't even look at park scores, they said, we do math, that's all we look at. I'm like, wow. I said, we're looking at it, because I said, we get dinged on it. We want our kids improving their park, just like anybody does.
Well,
But-
especially if the federal government's gonna tie in your funding.
But Robine says, we don't look at park scores. I was a little shocked. I should have known that, I guess. But
Well, I think that's the problem, in the past park scores haven't been taken seriously. Everyone thought they would be gone within 2 or 3 years, but they haven't left.
no, there, some form of testing will always be there.
Right,
Thank you, Mr.
Mhm.
Johnson.
yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
well, I have one question for all three administrators. Has anybody heard when they're going to release the report card?
The,
It has all this data.
October 15th approximately, it's always in mid-October, I believe,
You know, it's, okay,
somewhere in that area.
thank you.
Thank you. Nice report. Vic's let go.
He didn't ask for any money.
Yes,
Okay, I won't either.
not a dime.
Give you a little update on EvaluWise, which you guys approved. That will go live at the end of this week. And so we will be meeting with the teachers to bring them up to speed once we are a little more up to speed. But they have all the information from us and are getting it set up. And I've got a call with them on Friday where we just kind of finalize and tweak some things so we get that going.
I have a question about that.
Sure.
Sorry, I don't know
Of
if you know.
course.
Is it end-to-end encryption or is the entire thing encrypted? Sorry.
I don't know.
Okay, just wondering.
Remember how the last time you were like, well, is it encrypted? And I said, oh yeah, it's got 32-bit encryption. It was actually 64-bit
That's
encryption or something.
256.
256.
That's the
whatever.
best out there though, so that's
Okay.
good. But, yes, I was just wondering if you knew.
Maybe not. I don't even know what that means, so there. Bring it up with the technology committee. Thank you for the new rings. We also have a bench that has been painted out on the playground and the fire truck seat has been replaced.
Yes.
That was a joint effort. I got to help with that a little bit because Rick got an 8-foot board and obviously that 8-foot board was too long and I've got a perfect saw for cutting it, so I took it home, cut the right size, and he got it installed. So that's been done for a couple weeks now, I think. Tomorrow ends our color days at school. Today would be gray day. Tomorrow is rainbow day. So if you think of us tomorrow morning when you get up and you're choosing your colors for the day, Mr. Giddens, put on that rainbow shirt of yours. And you can fit right in with us.
I'll have you to know, purple, finding a purple shirt for a boy is really tough. Just want you to know.
Well, and you know what, I don't have a good pink shirt either, but I do have some pink socks I bust out, so. And the kids always get a kick when I'm standing up there in front and I go, but I got pink on my socks. Actually,
Especially if
today
you're
would be
a
skull and
Vikings
crossbones, but not because it was a board meeting. Parent club meeting is actually Wednesday this week. It was originally scheduled for Thursday, but we discovered last week that about 2/3 of the
officers weren't gonna be able to make it, which is pretty much 2/3 of the group. So Wednesday seemed like a better day, and we're going to be discussing future meetings because now one of our parents has a class on Thursday night, so she's not gonna be able to make it ever, and somebody, you know, so we may change our regularly scheduled meeting date, because as of now, Wednesday seems like a great night for everybody. In our building this week, Thursday, we've got scouts registering. That's in the evening, they come in and get all signed up for scouts. Also Thursday begins PLCs, which are the professional learning communities we do with East Peoria and Robine. If you're not remembering what that is, on Thursday, one of our kindergarten teachers goes in the morning and meets with kindergarten teachers from those schools. They've got a set agenda. Scott Estes runs that, and I think does a really nice job. And they come back, and then in the afternoon, first grade teacher goes. So we get one sub, covers 2 grades. The next week, it's 2nd and 3rd, and then 4th grade after that. I think 4th and 5th go on the same day. As I told my teachers, I'm going to try to go to one of those meetings. They've got 3 of them scheduled for each grade level between now and Christmas. And I'm going to try to go to one of those each time. Might be first grade this time and next time 2nd grade. But I feel like there's a gap in what they're doing there. They go, they learn about something, they bring it back, and somehow some of it's lost getting to me. And then some of it's, I can't relay it all to Mr. Whiston, and I'd like there to be a more continuity there. And I can't go to all of them, but if I can go to one particular grade level a month, I think that would be beneficial. As far as breakfast and lunch numbers go, I talked to Michelle Hill this morning, just kind of informally, and she showed me how she tracks the numbers and everything, but she said basically our breakfasts are up 30 to 40 per day, and our lunch is really about the same. Now, and she and I talked about it a little bit. She said we've definitely seen an increase in breakfasts, but lunch, she said, you know what? You get the picky eaters, they're never going to eat hot lunch. And picky eaters tend to be little kids. I watch our kindergartners come in, and it seems like 2/3 of them are carrying a lunchbox. And gradually those kids change over time. But, I will give props to Ms. Davis. She came up with this, what she calls the Care Share Plan. And I think she explained it to you one time where basically, a kid gets a tray at lunch and there has to be these things on there. If they don't eat it, we really have to throw it away. We can't resell it. But we recycle it at lunchtime. And I watched 1 or 2 kids in particular, just because I've seen it happen. You know what? They eat everything on their plate and then turn around and go up and get a thing of juice and a thing of cereal from breakfast, and they eat that too. And you know what? Hey, that kid needs a little more food than great. And that's the kind of kid like Mr. Johnson mentioned, who might not be getting as much to eat at home. They're eating breakfast and they're eating lunch and a little extra. Wonderful. As far as park scores and things along those lines, I have a hand up. Mine's only 1 page though, and it's one-sided, so.
Steve just double-spaced his.
Sure. I will kind of qualify the numbers. I'm actually not able to get online and see them, even though Mr. Whiston and I went through and figured out what I needed to have, and he has to approve it for me, and he did that, and I'm still not able to get it. So I actually had to hack into Steve's account to get my own information, which he was nice enough to help me with too. But when they release the actual park results, they give us these numbers as opposed to me having to go through and say, okay, 10 out of 68 did this, that's this percentage, and things like that. So these are the numbers I came up with, and I don't know if they're the same for 3rd grade that Tony showed you before.
There was an increase, so that's probably it.
Yeah.
Let me see.
I mean, I think overall, the numbers speak for themselves. Like Steve said, I don't think either one of us is happy with where they are. And I think we need to not focus on necessarily why they are there, but what are we doing going forward? And good thing I've got a short list there, because he stole most of my thunder and things that we're talking about. But professional development is something that we're working very hard on, bringing in our math person, and the teachers already saw on the second Institute Day, and we've already talked about bringing her back because of the positive comments we've gotten from that. Working on, we've got one coming for classroom management as
Yes.
well, don't we?
Yes.
And that's something that I think, you know what, no matter how many years you've been in the classroom, if you've got a kid in there, I knew I could turn around and look at you. If you've got a kid in there who doesn't want to pay attention and distract everybody else, it's bringing everybody else down. And we've got to figure out better ways to address those issues so that every kid who wants to learn is going to learn, and we're not letting a couple of kids distract an entire classroom. Curriculum, continue to work with East Peoria and Robina in those PLC meetings. I think there have been some good things to come out of those. I'd like to see more good things coming out of them as well. I also put in there about the new ELA program. And again, I've mentioned that to my teachers as well, as far as getting a few people together to be on that committee, and we can move forward with that. And then also I put under instruction, we talked, I want to say it was at perhaps our retreat, where we talked about sending teachers to other districts. And I've already made some contacts with some surrounding districts to say, hey, you got somebody who's really good in your building. Would you be willing to let me send a teacher over for half a day or a day to kind of shadow them and share some ideas? And the ones I've talked to have been very receptive, because they figure even if it's in their building and my person's seeing what they're doing, they're still going to do some idea sharing and get some, on the other end, they're going to get some ideas out of it as well.
Right.
So I've mentioned that to my teachers. Just as Steve said, the dust is just starting to settle, so those are some things that we're starting to work on. Questions for me? Thank you.
Well, Steve talked about the teachers' workshops that you're doing. So you guys are doing collaboratively, these workshops, or are those just for Parkview?
The majority of them are collaborative. In some cases, Steve has said, hey, you know, I'm going to bring in Amber Ely and she's going to talk about co-teaching. Well, that's something that I'm going to go back to my teachers, and I really want to see, and I want to talk to Dr. Jex about it and say, how much co-teaching are we doing in our building? Is it going to be worthwhile for these guys to go see that? And I think maybe more at the 3rd and 4th grade level we might see that, as opposed to the kindergarten, 1st grade level. So we'll tailor it to particular things.
I was just wondering.
But a lot of them are
Idea
clever.
sharing at the other districts, I think, is a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, committee reports, building and grounds. Brenda?
We might want to set a meeting before our next meeting.
We do.
To talk about the 10-year life safety. You okay?
You talked about having a workday, volunteer day, just on the playground. I know there's 4 green poles we need to get out around. There's just 4 poles going up. There's a bench that needs to be reset. And there'll be some painting that needs to be done.
We should probably have a meeting in October. It would need to be the evening.
It depends on when in October. I'm supposed to be in the Keys one week.
Mhm.
They might not be there.
I don't have a calendar with me other than my phone, so.
Don't want to do it.
Oh, do you wanna just check your
Fine.
calendar at break, and
Yeah,
then we'll
We can do that,
discuss it?
right, but yes, we do need to set a meeting before it goes any further. And the blacktop in front of the bus barn, I've asked that question like 4 times and found no response. So real soon, we probably need to get a bid
Right, they're probably busy too.
for it, okay? And I know the shed and the fence thing at Homewood, it's just a matter of having them have the time to go down there, because I know that they'll do it. Okay? So, but the thing here in front of the bus barn, if they don't do that pretty soon, then we need to just get a bid on it.
Okay. No, I've got one person, if there's anybody else.
So that's my answer
Okay.
for that one. But yes, we do need to schedule a meeting about the building and grounds.
Policy?
Well, you have the one in the packet there. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to go through it or, I
About the
mean.
expense?
Mhm. So, it had the examples and everything for everybody to look at. It also, what's in your packet also included the original footnotes.
Yeah, we talked about that even at the last meeting,
Mhm.
about the form. Is that what you want to
the
discuss?
Well, it was, I mean,
And the policy?
yeah, the policy, we had to set limits and everything else, and we set
Right.
them high enough to where we don't have to come back and revisit it all the time and accidentally go over that amount. I don't know, if I talked to the board since I talked to our bookkeeper or not, but we're nowhere near the dollar amounts. That was in the proposal, so we don't have to worry about that. I should have wrote down the dollar amounts. But we got there's a big gap as far as our total expenditure. It's just something new that we have to adopt a resolution.
Right.
So, and I mean, like,
Well, this one, on the back side, like you have the general personnel, and then you have general personnel. So I'm thinking they're two different forms that you want to see which one we like better, is that correct? Or-
well, they're actually two different forms.
Right,
I gotta-
because one talks about purchase receipts and the other one doesn't. Like purchase order requests and things like that.
Right. I mean, they're,
Do you want them both? Is that what you want?
right, because
Okay,
they have two different functions. So-
right, that's why okay, that's why I didn't understand, okay. So one's more if you're gonna purchase something, the other one's more if you're going for a conference or somewhere.
So this is for district-wide then,
Right,
for all
All.
employees, anyone who's gonna spend it.
well, if you go through the whole thing, there's different things, there's different board expenses, there's a different thing. And remember, when we go to Chicago, make sure you fill out this form and have everything back and bring it back to the bookkeeper. Because she's gonna be hounding you for your receipts and everything in your form.
Okay, do you want the form filled out before we go? Is that what you said?
You're gonna be filling out this form as you go.
That's what I was gonna ask. So is the form
Yeah.
gonna be handed to us with the check and tell us to fill it out?
Right,
Okay, so it's gonna be filled out after we go.
right, because how much is your breakfast, how much is your lunch, how much is your dinner? You don't know that until you fill it out.
Right,
So you fill out the form and you bring back the receipt.
okay.
And then I need a couple.
Right, we would.
Right,
And lodging, so lodging, we don't fill that out?
leave that blank because that's already covered in the check.
That's what I thought, okay.
But if they go to a conference, then they're gonna have to.
Fill out the lodge, but that usually is paid for
Something
ahead of time too.
If they go to
Everybody,
a conference.
this is for everybody.
So if the teacher goes to a training course, then we're ideally gonna have to fill out something just regarding training. Okay,
correct?
all right, just.
Because the state said that you have to be accountable for everything and have all receipts now. Correct?
Right, right. Now, keep in mind what's in there, in our policy and what's allowed by federal law is like they already have the mileage figured out. And here, what's a little confusing, because I run into it at work too. If I'm operating my own vehicle, most places uses the IRS rate. Now that covers wear and tear on your automobile and everything else. You don't get reimbursed just for your fuel.
Right.
I mean, the IRS figures all this out, and most places gives you the maximum allowable rate.
Right.
So you might have so many miles, and this is how much I put gas in it, I fill up my tank before I even take off. But your cost was basically what your fuel allowance is gonna be, because that covered the wear and tear
You
and
would just put
everything
miles
else.
and the costs they gave us for the miles. Be done with
Right.
it. Okay. And then the food and lodging, the food now is based on your expenditures, not on a set amount each day.
Right, I mean,
But do we want to limit, because we don't want someone going out and having a $100 dinner.
stay with the limit that we have, and if you read in the policy, it
We
talks
don't have
about,
a limit.
we kind of do, because we said so many, we didn't put it in this policy. If you read in the article, page 404, of policy 5:60, you can do this. We're not voting on this policy tonight. But if you look on page 404, alternative, the board could set a daily limit on the meal costs, such as,
That's
if
what I'm
this is
saying.
on employees, we can also do it on the board.
Do we want to, go ahead.
I think you're confused. What you're looking at is not been approved.
Right, he said it wasn't.
Yeah,
No, we have-
There's another policy that has your amount for food.
Right. So we have a policy that already has our amount for food. So do we want to put that in here so that it goes together?
I'm not even sure why that is in there. I was just told to put that in there for discussion, so I don't know what.
Because this accidentally got left out from the last one.
Right.
But we can look at number 19, we can look at what the board is and everything else. And I know the way I've always been told is there's a set amount, kind of like if I go over, I went over on my own. If I went and had an extravagant meal, the district shouldn't pay for it.
I know, but do you think everyone should, okay, so there's a policy already out there that sets the limit. So I was just saying, if we're gonna have this as, APs, should we put that in here as well, so everyone knows the limit?
Yeah, because this one here covers employees. Because I can go back and look at that limit. And did you want to insert under item 19? Let's see, meals.
Well, at the bottom of general personnel in the AP 5.60, right down here, it has a blank. It says should not exceed blank per day
It's in the deleted one.
in the AP.
But that's the old
That's deleted.
AP, which is being
So we need
deleted.
to
Right, so we want to do this
19.
AP.
Yeah, no, we need to use 19, the footnote 19.
No, footnote number 19 goes with the policy
But the
itself.
one.
It's deleting the administrative procedure and making it part of the policy, is what it's doing in here.
So do we want to just take that sentence for mill charges and put
And put the dollar amount, I'll look up the dollar amount, so if we bring this back to a vote.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah. This back.
so we put it under 19
Yeah,
and just put mill charges?
And use the exhibit to replace the old form that you had.
Pardon?
And use the new exhibit to replace the old form that you used to have to fill out.
Right. I don't remember the old form.
These two exhibits, the AP,
Well, shall I
5:60 AP is being deleted, okay? That's going away.
Right.
What we're also either adding or changing is, I don't think we're adding, it's not marked as new, is exhibit number 1 and exhibit number 2. But footnote number 19, I gotta find where that goes and get that back.
And
And then
add
that's
both
what we'll
exhibits.
discuss and vote on.
And add both exhibits.
And both exhibits added, correct.
So you'll email it to me, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is because the state said, now Shelley has to have all receipts, where in the past she didn't.
Now, if, the other thing in there, if I remember writing the policies, if you have a very good reason why you spent so much for meals or whatever, because you went over your limit, you got a very good explanation, and you come and make a request.
Right, like if you went to Washington DC and every meal there is $30.
So outrageous.
Or if he decides to take everyone to lunch and buys everyone
Right.
expenses for everyone's lunch, then he's gonna go over his
His
daily
amount.
allotment.
Right,
And he shouldn't have to, yeah, incur that cost.
Right?
you're right.
So,
I mean, you come back with an explanation what happened.
right.
Okay, so we decided that to have this ready for the next board meeting, correct?
Be pretty busy next week.
Moving on policy, I don't know if anybody's logged into that state board, the Association of School Boards, and looked up our next, there's still 2 more packets to go through. I wanted to combine them because they're both pretty short, especially compared to the last one. If we get through those, then we will be completely caught up.
Cool. So you guys,
Except for going back and grabbing some that we have tabled in the past. I have a list of those.
do you want to set a meeting? Or you want to
Do
take
y'all
it
want
up?
to see it? Savannah may want to see that list.
I think that's up
I don't
to
know
you
if
guys.
she's logged in. I actually have not logged in and looked. I looked to glance to see that it's a short list. I have not started to read them, download them, and read them.
Okay. So
But I'll
we'll
make
just
sure
wait and
y'all
set a
get a copy
meeting.
too.
Yeah. Just wait and set a meeting, but we probably want to do it sometime in October because in November it starts getting busy with the holidays and people
And
can't
meetings,
meet.
we go back to 1 meeting a month.
Right, and people just can't meet anyway, they're busy with their families and there's things going on at the school with Christmas programs and things like that, so. Okay, technology,
The meeting September 25th.
that's right.
Who's there?
Okay, parent advisory, we haven't met. Maybe at the parent teacher conference, we'd get a couple of parents that might wanna be on it. Food service?
No updates at this time.
No updates, cool. Okay, recognition of visitors wishing to address the board. None. Can I have a motion for executive session?
Oh, 10 minutes late.
After we make a motion, yes.
Make the motion to enter into executive session for student matters, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body, collective bargaining matters between the public body and the exclusive representatives of its certified employees, and review of executive session minutes from the regular meeting held August 8th and August 22nd, 2017.
At
Second.
7:35.
Oh, yeah, so.
Second.
Giddens,
Aye.
Hinkle. Aye. Captain Reagan.
Aye.
Val Reagan.
Aye.
Tyler.
Aye.